It's been a chilly week for us here in Katowice, Poland, covering the United Nations Climate Change Conference. Chilly because of the weather, but also chilly because of the reception we got from both the United Nations and the Canadian government. The Canadian government asked the United Nations to ban us from the conference, and the United Nations jumped at any opportunity to keep a skeptical journalist outside of their little cloistered affair. We arrived here Monday night, pretty late. It was probably 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening here. But we got here and we hit the ground running. My videographer and I went down to the site of the United Nations complex, and the first thing we saw was our old friend fossil fuels. Yes, the frost fighters are back. They made their appearance last year in Bonn, Germany at the very same climate change conference. These United Nations officials love their fossil fuels. They just don't want you to see them. It's another reason why they kept me away from this conference here in Katowice. The very next day, Tuesday morning, it was a blizzard. And we had made a plan the day before to head up to a coal museum because, as you know, this part of Poland is really Eastern Europe's West Virginia. The whole area is built on coal mining. 100,000 people work directly as coal miners here in Poland. So what better place to take in the culture of Katowice than the Coal Miners Museum? But boy, were we in for a surprise. When we got to the site of the coal museum, we realized we were also on top of the UN Climate Change Conference complex. It is literally butted up and actually on top of parts of the Coal Miners Museum, which is some top-level message sending from Poland's conservative government in Warsaw. They're sending a message to the United Nations that, sure, we'll host your conference just fine. We'll take all your tourism dollars too, but coal is definitely here to stay. Wednesday, for half the day, we had a little bit of free time. We don't have very much free time when we're here working. As you can see, it's dark and we are still working. But we took some time to do something very important. We went to Auschwitz and Birkenau and we toured the concentration camp. I have been to Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Museum in Jerusalem, twice, and you see the evil and the sorrow and the agony caused by the Holocaust. But you only see the recreations of the concentration camps, these places where evil got organized. And we went there and we toured the facilities, and I was struck with how we should never wear out the use of the word Nazi. Being a Nazi is the worst, most evil thing a human can be. And when we level that against our political opponents, all we do is minimize what that word really means and the evil committed by them. Wednesday evening, we went to an event hosted by our friend Mark Morano from Climate Depot and the good guys from CFACT. They held their event in Gliwice, about half an hour from the United Nations complex here in Katowice. They even beamed in an astronaut via Skype, Walt Cunningham, and he disputes the science, or the so-called settled science, of climate change. And some Polish academics were there too to answer questions from the crowd. And I did have an opportunity to speak to our friend Mark Morano about what he thinks is truly happening inside that climate change conference and how Trump has emboldened nations to speak out against these global warming wealth transfer schemes. Thursday was another busy day here outside the United Nations Climate Change Conference. We caught up with our friend Mark Morano, or rather Santa Claus Mark Morano, as he delivered some coal to the very naughty boys and girls from Greenpeace, because Greenpeace is looking to phase out coal here in Poland, putting 100,000 people out of work and bringing Poland back under the thumb of the Russians if they do succeed, making Poland beholden to Gazprom, Putin's natural gas company, for the bulk of their energy needs. Because coal is Poland's liberty from the rebranded Soviet Union. We also met a fellow traveler later on in the day from the climate change skeptic movement. A skeptical journalist was inside the United Nations Climate Change conference. Now, I don't know if they know he's a skeptic, and I think if they find out he is, he'll be given the boot next year, but I'll have some company on the outside, so it won't hurt my feelings any. I had an interview with my new friend Alex Newman from the New American magazine. He gave me the insider's sneak peek of what exactly is going on inside the United Nations Climate Change Conference, and Alex assures me that it is just as weird as I remember it is. My videographer and I are heading out tomorrow, him back to Toronto and me back to my little house on the prairie. But I want to thank everybody at home who donated their hard-earned money to send me here and to trust me to tell the other side of the story. The side of the story the mainstream media won't tell you, the United Nations doesn't want told, and that the Canadian government tried to censor from being told. For the Rebel.media, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. We're in downtown Katowice, Poland, where the United Nations Climate Change Conference is being hosted. We're telling you the other side of the story the mainstream media won't tell you, and that the Canadian government doesn't want told. Now, to support our independent journalism here and to help cover the cost of our trip here, go to rebelun.com.